This conference will now be recorded.
Through Lindsay, do we need to declare in the absence of the mayor, or does it matter who chairs?
No, it doesn't matter. You go ahead, Barb.
Okay. So it's 1 o'clock, and I am Councillor Barbara Dobreen, and I'll be chairing this public planning meeting today. I will call the meeting to order. The public planning meeting, this is a public planning meeting concerning proposed zoning bylaw amendments pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act, file C1020 for Daryl and Julie Ellis, C11-20 and OPA 2-20 for Lawrence Martin, C12-20 for Murray and Brenda Calder, and C13-20 for Ian and Kimberly Francis. Any person or public body is entitled to attend the public meeting and make written or oral submissions in support of or in opposition to any of the proposed zoning bylaw amendments just named. Written comments should be submitted to the clerk, Lindsay Green. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Southgate before the zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of Council of the Township of Southgate to the Local Planning Appeals Tribunal. And in addition, they may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Local Planning Appeals Tribunal. In the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. So having that housekeeping out of the way, the first zoning bylaw amendment is file number C10-20, Daryl and Julie Ellis. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to consider a change to allow for garden suite to be permitted on the property for a period of up to 20 years. The effects of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment would be to change the zoning symbol on a portion of the property from agricultural A1 to agricultural exception A1, and then there would be a number assigned to allow for the garden suite. The environmental protection zone boundary may be adjusted based on Conservation Authority comments. The location of the subject land is Concession 8, Part Lot 18 in the geographic township of Proton, alternate address 125656 Southgate Road 12. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act.
For our planner, Clinton Stredwick, to review these from commenting agencies.
Thank you, Chair Dobreen. The first set of comments we have here is from the building department. They indicate that they have no concerns or objections with the application. The Blue Water District School Board has reviewed the application and has no concerns or comments at this time. What else do we have? We have the County of Grey has reviewed the application and provided positive comments are received from the Conservation Authority, and consideration is provided to develop a more permanent structure, a secondary suite, given the proposed servicing development is situated in proximity to the farm buildings and our main residence, and adequate servicing can be ensured. County's planning staff have no concerns. And they request notice of the decision. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no objection or opposition to the proposed development. The Public Works Department indicates a safe access can be provided. It's a rural asphalt standard road. There's no drainage concerns, and a road widening is not required. There is an entrance requirement. There's one existing entrance, so the current proposal would require them to get another entrance permit for a second entrance if that remains the location of the garden suite, and it's not within a wellhead protection area. The SVCA, let me just get to their summary. SVA staff find the proposed application acceptable, and given the above comments, is that the opinion of the SVCA that it's consistent with section 3.1 of the PPS. It's consistent with section 2.1 of the PPS. And it's also consistent with local planning policies for natural hazards and natural heritage. And then they say, with the exception of the endangered and threatened species policy, this is the same issue that comes up again and again, which the applicant must address directly with the MECP. And that's all of the comments I have for that particular file.
Thank you, Planner Strudwick. Could you review any written comments that may have been received by members of the public?
There were none received. I did have one phone call just for calling about clarification, and once I responded back to them, they had no issues with respect to the application.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussion from council at this time?
Well, yeah, through the chair, Clinton.
So we'll recognize Councillor Shipton.
Oh,
and then I think Councillor Frew. Go ahead.
With the new laneway, will there be a culvert put in underneath?
Well, as I said, that's if it goes there. Certainly that wouldn't be my preferred location for the garden suite. From a planning perspective, it should be closer to the buildings that are currently there, the existing cluster. That's what the county was alluding to in their comments as well, with respect to that. So that may not be the final location for it. If it was to go in there, it would require an entrance permit, and depending on what Public Works said, it may require a culvert.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And whether it's permissible or not, that phone call you just mentioned, if it is permissible, what was the phone call about regarding this application? And if you can't answer it because of privacy, that's fine too, but...
Well, I can certainly answer it. It wasn't about, I actually don't remember the name. I don't have the person in front of me, but essentially they received a copy of the notice of the meeting, and they were just curious as to what it was all about, where they were proposing to locate the structure, where they were going to have an entrance, that sort of thing. And so I explained it to them, and then I asked them if they had a concern to please write in, and they said no, they didn't have a concern and they wouldn't be writing in. So
okay. And is this a working farm or agricultural land that's being used? My last question, Clinton, sorry.
I actually am not sure of that. I would have to ask the applicants that question. I don't know if they're available to answer that question or not, but
okay.
When they get up to speak, if they're on the line, then they can answer that question, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Councillor Frew, did you have a question?
No, I'm clear.
Hearing no other questions from council at this time, I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present on the line. Please identify yourself by stating your name for the record, and would you like to make any representation on your application? Lindsay, do we have the applicant on the line?
I don't believe so. There's no just callers that aren't named, and none of the named ones, I believe, are this application. So I would say no, they're not on the line.
Okay. Hearing none, is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application? Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this application? Please state your name and address for the clerk, if there is. Hearing none, are there any further questions from members of council?
None from me. Martin Shipton,
Okay.
none.
Okay, I do have one question for the planner, Clinton. You mentioned that the location of the garden suite isn't your first choice because generally the garden suite is normally within a certain area of the original dwelling. Will that be addressed in your planning report or after further investigation?
Well, yes, it would be. The first thing I would do is bring back the comments from the county of Grey and myself to the applicant. And because I believe in their initial inquiries, they did have a second location sort of mapped out. This was their preferred spot. However, based on the comments from the county and ours, maybe they're willing to change the other one to the other spot, and then we would address it in zoning setbacks.
Right, because being such a distance from the homestead of the property, could this open up a request to sever at some future date?
It's always possible. So individuals like to do that sometimes. I'm not suggesting that would be the case here, but
No.
Sometimes they try and stick the thin edge of the wedge in there and or as time goes by, it becomes a new lot.
Right, yes. And a garden suite is meant to be for a 20-year period, so it's not intended to be a permanent dwelling. So thank you for that. Hearing no other comments from council, we'll move on to the next file, and I will just get that on my screen. We now will move on to C1120 and OPA 2-20 Lawrence Martin, Concession 4, South Part Lot 16, Geographic Township of Egremont. Alternate address is 551003 Southgate Road 55. The purpose of the proposed official plan amendment is to amend the agricultural policies to allow for the expansion of and severance of the grain drying operation from the farm parcel. The grain drying operation shall not exceed 2 hectares. The zoning amendment would amend and expand the area of the property zoned A1-306 and would change the text of the A1-306 to facilitate the expansion of and severance of the custom grain drying operation from the farm. The retained portion of the subject lands would also be rezoned to recognize a reduced lot area. The effect of the proposed official plan amendment would be to facilitate a severance of the grain drying operation. The zoning bylaw amendment would be to enlarge the agricultural exception zone A1-306 to allow for the expansion of the grain drying operation to 2 hectares and recognize the reduced lot area of the retained parcel with an agricultural zone A1 and to a number to be assigned at a later time. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Lindsay. I will now ask for our planner, Clinton Stredwick, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies. Clinton?
Thank you, Chair Dobreen. council may recall seeing this one not too long ago. It went through an official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment less than a year ago. Unfortunately, at that time, they did let us know that the lands were going to be severed off. Otherwise, we could have incorporated that at that time. However, that is their wish to do that. So unfortunately, they have to go through the exercise again. So here we are. It is being proposed. There are no ostensible reasons why we shouldn't be able to do it. The comments that I've received to date include the building department. They have no concerns or objections. The County of Grey indicates the county planning staff recommend review and follow-up measures are put in place to ensure the recommended noise mitigation controls are implemented at the time of expansion. County planning staff have no concerns with the proposed application, provided the noise mitigation measures are ensured for the purpose proposed expansion, and comments are received from the local conservation authority, specifically for the identified stream on the subject property. The historic Saugeen Métis have no opposition or objection. The Public Works Department indicated safe access can be provided. It's a rural gravel road. It requires a commercial entrance and therefore paving. A site plan agreement to pave the road section of Southgate Side Road 55 and then will become unrestricted load in a year-round road. So that is sort of in the site plan agreement stage to ensure that road gets upgraded so that the grain drying operation can operate year-round. The SVCA indicate the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment are acceptable to the SVCA staff. And it says, please inform this office of any decision made by the Township of Southgate regarding the applications. And they're requesting to receive a copy of the decision. That is of, what date is that? August 12th. Because they did submit comments earlier, it looks like on April 17th, I believe. And that's all the comments I have, actually, for that file.
Okay, thank you, Clinton. Were there any comments received from members of the public?
There were none received.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions or discussion from council at this time?
Yeah, through the chair, Martin here.
Go ahead, Martin.
Thank you. You mentioned this could have been done earlier and there was no mention of a severance prior. Do they still is there any other fees that they still have to pay to get this done? Because it obviously needs to get done. There's a lot more farming going on and it's a good idea to get the granary going. Second question is the noise. They're off Highway 89. I don't think the noise would be a problem. Is that just a part of the whole thing that you have to ask that, or?
Well, during the first official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment exercise, they were required to do a noise study for the expansion, and that noise study recommended some baffling and alterations to the plant to mitigate noise, both to across the road to the residential lot there and across Highway 89. So all those comments were just ensuring that those changes get addressed and are done before anything goes further.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at the map now, Clinton. I can see the lots on the other side. I know that area. There are houses there. So now that clarifies that for me. That's great. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Martin. So to your question, Clinton, because this wasn't addressed when they did the zoning amendment to expand the grain drying operation, there are additional fees for this.
Yes, they actually went through an official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment originally, but as I said, there was no mention at that time that they ever wanted to sever off the property from the rest of it, and because it's already had a severance on it at the back of the property, there's been a number of acres taken off. It doesn't qualify for any additional severances, and so in order to do this, it's a special request, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So are there any other questions from council?
No.
Okay, so I have a, just in follow-up to the comments previously made, Clinton, the paving of the road to the grain drying operation would be at the expense of the applicant or the owner of the grain drying operation?
It
won't be on the township.
I believe that's how it's worded in the site plan agreement, yes.
Great. And
This is
with
Ian.
regard...
Oh, sorry, excuse me. I'm with Lawrence at the
hello. You'll have just a moment. I will get to you in just a moment.
Okay.
Thank you for letting us know you're there. Another question then. In allowing an additional severance and severing the grain drying operation, Clinton, could that potentially pose a conflict with, or could the retained parcel pose a future conflict with the grain drying operation? Has that been considered?
I can learn to understand you much better if I can get familiar with the way you...
What?
Thank you, Siri.
Yes. I suppose there is a small potential there. At the same time, it is an agricultural lot, and it's a quasi agriculturally related use, if not an agricultural use. Being
for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so once it's there, the individual who owns the farm would understand that it's going to make noise and that there would be issues with that. So I don't see it causing any other problems.
Awesome. Okay. So if there are no other questions, sorry, just a moment. We follow a script. So, are there any other questions or discussion from council at this time?
Yeah, Martin here. Clint, since it's coming off a county road, do we have the? I'm not going to say power, but is it a county responsibility to get that entryway paved, or is it actually us as a township because it is on that side of the road?
Well,
or is it
it's actually
a combined effort?
It's a municipal road, or a municipal road is the side road 55. That's our responsibility.
Oh, okay.
And that's the one we're talking about, just paving up to the entrance of the grain drying, and that would allow it to operate longer because of half load restrictions and that sort of thing. It's actually a provincial highway. It's Highway 89, which is a lot more stringent. So even getting an entrance directly off of that is probably very, very difficult, I would say.
it would be 10 years and the grain would be rotten. I know, I can hear that. So.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Martin and Clinton. I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present to please identify yourself by stating your name for the record. Would you like to make any representation on your application or perhaps respond to any of the questions already posed?
Florence Martin here. The vote is actually paged now.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, sorry, I don't know if everyone is having the same issue, but you're very muffled and I couldn't understand you.
I'm sorry.
Hello? That's
Hello?
better. Yeah.
So the road is paved, and the applicant is paying the full price of the paving.
Thank you. Would you like to make any other representation with regard to your application?
No,
And who are we speaking to?
my name's Ian Hewitt, and I'm sitting here with Lawrence Martin.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you get that, Lindsay?
Yep, we're good.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So we'll move along. Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application? Hearing none, is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition of this application? Hearing none, are there any questions or further discussions from members of council? Great. So we'll move on to the next file, which is C12-20, Murray and Brenda Calder. Concession 3, part lots 43 in the geographic township of Egremont. Alternate location is 123330 and 123342 Southgate Road 12. And the background. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to implement a consent to sever 8.29 hectares of land containing the house, repair shop, and accessory building from the larger farm holding. The retained parcel, comprising 28.62 hectares and containing one poultry barn, would be merged on title with the adjacent 1.89 hectare lot containing the other two poultry barns and accessory building, thereby forming a 31.52 hectare parcel. No new lot would be created as a result of this lot line adjustment. The effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment would be a reduction in the minimum lot area requirement of the A2 zone from 40 hectares to 8.29 hectares and 31.52 hectares respectively, which would reflect the size of the two reconfigured parcels following the lot line adjustment. Permit the erection of the new poultry barn in the EP zone as conditionally approved by the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, a correction to the current zoning to acknowledge the existing farm equipment repair shop on the severed parcel. The current zoning of the existing 1.89 hectare parcel allows for a welding and hydraulic repair shop. The hydraulic repair shop is actually located in a separate building on the 37.91 hectare property. The zone symbol on a portion of the subject land would change from restricted agriculture A2-248 and A2-40 to an A2-248 exception and amalgamate the zones. The EP zone would also be adjusted to reflect Conservation Authority comments. The agricultural A1 zone on the lands would be changed to agricultural exception A1 with a number to be assigned to recognize the reduced lot area. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that the proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Lindsay. I will now ask our planner, Clinton Stredrick, to review correspondence received from commenting agency and maybe explain this. You had a lot of juggling there to do, Clinton.
Yes, there's certainly a lot going on.
To clean it up.
It's a very complicated property, and it's had a lot of incremental development over the years, and so it's almost at the limit of that in terms of how we're able to proceed with it. But this drawing, I think, done by Ron Davidson, does an excellent job of sort of piecing together the whole property, which you can see on your screen there is goes all the way to Grey Road 109 and all the way back to Side Road 41. And then the severed and retained parcels are going to be they outlined in red, and then the outline in, I believe that's blue there. Those are going to be the additional lands when it's all said and done. So if you look on your left, there, the other drawing by Ron Davidson, the inset, you can see where the proposed poultry barn is right there. That's where it's proposed to be located, this new poultry barn. From what I understand from the applicants, poultry's going high tech now, and they're doing things differently than they did a number of years ago. So some of the barns that they have for poultry no longer function as efficiently as they should, and therefore to keep up with the times, they need to add this new poultry barn. There you can see there's a repair shop noted on there, and a welding shop, and so these uses are going to be adjusted to reflect correctly, because one was noted on one property and it was actually in a different building, and so we're looking to just correct that. And then because of the weird shapes and things like that, and it being right on the settlement area boundary between the rural area and the village of Holstein, we had to adjust the boundary lines. So the boundary lines are a little wonky, and so the zoning bylaw takes that into consideration. So that may be not the best explanation, but that's essentially what's happening. Is the storage, the poultry barn, the welding shop, and the other poultry barn lot kind of looks like a backwards P. That's going to be added to the larger farm parcel that goes out to Side Road 41, and then the other one will remain as the altogether.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Clinton.
It's a complicated one, no question there.
Yeah, but that's why we're here, and we're going to get it cleaned up with your help. Would you please review any written comments received by members of the public, if any?
I don't have any comments from the public that I'm aware, but I will read the commenting agencies if you'll.
Oh, yes. Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So the building department has no concerns with the application, other than applicable permits will be required. The Blue Water District School Board has no concerns or comments. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no objection or opposition. The Public Works Department have reviewed the application. They indicate a safe access can be provided. There isn't a drainage concern as far as they're concerned with road drainage. The road standard is a rural asphalt. A road widening is not required, and it is a load restricted road. So the additional comments states that as this was a former Grey County road, it appears road widening has already been taken. So there's that. SBCA comments indicate where's it? The proposed zoning bylaw is acceptable to the SVA staff provided the EP zone is revised as noted below. So there's been a tremendous amount of consultation with the SPCA and the applicant to ensure that this new barn can be constructed where it's proposed to be, and they will require the permits and whatnot from them. So we will just be revising the EP zone to reflect their recommendations. And so that's all of the comments that I have received on that file for both the public and the agency comments.
Thank you very much, Clinton. Are there any questions or discussions from council at this time?
Yeah, through the chair, Clinton, it's Martin here. I'm looking at that map and I can see the understanding behind doing what you propose. It is a backward P, and it's quite a nice jigsaw puzzle. With all there's 4 poultry barns, the one proposed. Because of the road where it's located, is there anything to do, like we've talked about the previous excuse me, about entryways? Is there going to be a different entryway because of the more efficient system? Because of the more efficient, is there going to be more trucks, or is that part of this whole thing that there will be?
It's my
a better entry.
Yeah, it's
especially
my
when you, sorry, Clint, especially when you want to sever or change the route, because.
Okay, especially okay. Two things. I'll let the applicant respond if he disagrees with what I'm saying here, but there already is a significant amount of truck traffic that occurs on the property as it is, because there are a number of barns there already, and so the entrance is already a pretty significant entrance as it is. The Public Works does not seem to require any upgrades when they go out there. When they actually post a sign, that's when they actually do their site inspection for the entrances and whatnot for these files. So if Public Works didn't consider that an issue, I wouldn't worry too much about it from a point of view.
Yep. Just a question, though.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions from council?
Jason here.
Yep, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, more just a comment, with all the, no comment, like all positive comments received from all the agencies, and as well as the last one of Lawrence's too. These shops are bringing, money in, and the buildings are building permit money in, and I think it's it looks good to me, anyways. Let's put it that way.
Thanks, Jason. I will now ask if the applicant or agent, hi Kyle, is present. Please identify yourself for the record by stating your name. And would you like to make any representation about your application at this time?
Yes, I'm Kyle Calder, and I'm here with my mother, Brenda Calder, as well, who's on the consent forms. I agree with what Mr. Strudwick had said, describing our access for the trucks. The big technology change that's going on is modular loading, which our poultry barn attached to the welding shop just could not be renovated enough to adapt to that challenge. So we will need to be building a new poultry barn and replacing that one, taking it out of service. So we will be taking a poultry barn out of service. I don't know if there were any issues that council members wanted me to address. We think
I don't think there were.
Okay, super.
Yeah. Martin here. Kyle, thank you for answering a question that I haven't even posed yet, because you were talking about how things have become so techy, like dairy farms are so techy, computer, robotics, and it's no surprise that chickens have gone the same way. So you're just saying when you have the proposed one, you're actually getting rid of one because you couldn't make it work with the technology.
That's correct.
So with the other two on the back-shaped P, are they good enough to put this technology in, so you still have 3 barns for your business? Or are you going to build a bigger one eventually?
We're not planning on building a bigger one anytime soon, maybe in the future, 10 or 15 years down the road, but this proposed barn will replace the one that we cannot update and give us a little bit of expansion too, because we are operating at capacity.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Sounds good.
Thank you very much, Kyle and Brenda. I will now ask if there's anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application. Hearing none, is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition of this application? Are there any more questions or further discussion from members of council? All right, we'll conclude that your portion of this meeting is concluded, Kyle, and all the best. We'll move on to the final file, which is C3-20, Ian and Kimberly Francis, Concession 1, Division 3, Part Lot 88, RP 16R8641, Croton in the former township of Egremont. Alternate civic address is 169 McFarland Drive, Mount Forest. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to consider a change to allow for a garden suite to be permitted on the property for a period up to 20 years. The effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment would be to add a permitted use to the zoning symbol on the property. The residential type 6 exception, R6-144, would remain the same with an additional permitted use added to it. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Clerk Green. I will now ask our planner, Clinton Strudwick, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies.
Thank you, Chair Dobreen. Let me just scroll down here. Okay, so our first set of comments is from the Billing Department, and they have no concerns or objections with the application. The County of Grey indicate provided consideration is provided to develop a more permanent structure given the proposed servicing needs. Development is situated in proximity to the farm buildings and or main residence, and adequate servicing can be ensured. County planning staff have no concerns. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no concerns or objections. The Public Works Department indicates a safe access can be provided. It's a rural asphalt road standard. A road widening is not necessary. And entrance requirements, there is one existing entrance that I presume would be shared. It is a load restricted road and it's not within a well height protection area. The SPCA recommend that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is acceptable to the SPCA staff. And that is all of the agency comments received.
Thank you, Clinton. Were there any written comments received by members of the public?
None received.
Right. Are there any questions from council at this time?
Me again, Martin. Clinton, Sorry.
Go ahead,
sorry.
Martin.
Just a question. I'm looking at the plans for the granny suite, and it's 24 by 25. When it comes to a granny suite, there's no foundations or anything like that, right? You have your works, but
Sometimes they're put on. They can be put on piers, or they can be put on concrete slab.
yeah, that's my point. So a concrete slab eventually, could that turn into what was talked about before, like a severance?
In this particular location, no, because
Okay.
the only other access would be from Highway 6, and I'm almost positive the MTO would never grant
Would
you
not
access.
allow that. Okay, no, I just a question because I looked at the schematics for the blueprint for the place, and I said, man, I wouldn't mind living there. That looks like a pretty neat place. So I was just thinking about the foundations and the whole talk about mobile homes and stuff like that. So that's good. Thank you very much.
This really is about an aging in place scenario where elderly relatives want their independence still, yet they still want to be closer to other family members.
No, that's right. And they'll probably live longer because of that. So no, I just had a question about. It looked a pretty good place to. I was just wondering about the actual foundations and stuff. So,
yeah,
I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Are there any other questions from other members of council? So, Clinton, there will not be a secondary driveway to this suite, correct?
Correct. They would use the same entrance.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present to please state your name and for the record, and would you like to make any representation on your application? Ms. Francis?
Yes, it's Kim Francis here.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Welcome.
Thank you. Just quickly, we are not planning on, not that we could sever, we don't want to sever. This strictly is that my dad is turning 80, and this past winter we really noticed a decline in him having to take care of his own acre property. So my sisters and I have been talking several years about it, and we really just want him to live as healthy and independent as long as he can. I am his primary go-to person and caretaker when he needs help. So it's going to be a lot easier for myself being a business owner and my husband being a business owner that we can just walk down the driveway to him. Mm-hmm. But he's still independent enough that he does not want to live with his daughter yet. So that's fine too. We're not ever planning on severing. My husband and I plan to stay here for wherever. As for the foundation, we did have a question regarding that, and I thought that would be up under the building permit. Our designer said that a 4-foot wall would be better than an engineered slab. It costs the same to do. Either way, we're open to whichever way works best for the township. It's not going to change the building. It's just whichever works best for you guys. He just thought it was less engineering involvement doing a 4-foot wall. But we're open to whatever has to be happening with that. But I think that's pretty much it. We're just, it's the shared driveway. Everything's going to be the same. I mean, I don't even know if he's going to be driving after this November when he turns 80 and takes his license. We'll figure that out.
Oh dear.
I know. But we'll see. So,
yeah, I've been down that route before.
Yeah, so we do appreciate you taking the time to consider this for us.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today and answer those questions. Clinton, I think the structural aspects would be dealt with at the building department, correct?
Yes, that's totally a building department decision on whether they want a slab versus a footing. I'll leave that up to them.
Right. And Ms. Francis, you're still going to have to go through the building department for permits anyway. So I think that will all be addressed with our building department.
Perfect.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Well, thank you very Go ahead, Clinton.
Just to let her know, the next step then is we'll bring a bylaw forward to actually approve this. So this is the public meeting, and it was good. There's no comments, negative comments, that is. So as soon as we can, we'll get a bylaw in front of council, and then you should be able to get a permit.
Perfect. Yes, I'd rather him not do another winter.
Fair enough.
All right. So I'll move on into our script here. Thank you all for your participation. Is there anyone present who would like to submit any support for this application? Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this application? Hearing none, are there any other questions or further discussion from council at this time? All right then. I believe that is it for our files. So I declare this public portion of the meeting adjourned at 1:50 p.m.